Welcome everybody to the third episode of Creating Magic. Today we got the bombastic, the very kind and gentle yet amazing Cameron Francis.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Awesome intro, by the way. I love it.
So we're gonna start off this interview with something that I'm sure you're not expecting, and with something most likely the followers over at Bigblindmedia don't know about. So how about you talk a little bit about real magic and how it was made and everything?
Are you talking about the book?
Yeah.
Oh man! Wow,
Yeah, the
that's
book.
really no one's ever brought that up before. That's a good one. Real Magic. That's a book I collaborated on with a guy. So I went to college with a guy named Stuart Jaffe, great writer. He writes a lot of science fiction, fantasy stuff. He's all over Amazon. He's got a ton of books. And years ago, this is probably 2012, he contacted me and said, "I want to do a time travel book about a magician, but I want it so that as the readers read, they can actually do tricks from the book." And so, like, sort of like combining a novel with kind of a magic book in a way. So what I did was I came up with several, maybe 7 or 8, like tricks that were completely self-working, so that if you, the reader, were in the middle of the story and picked up a deck of cards, you could actually follow along and do the tricks and like fool yourself because you wouldn't even know how you did them. So it was this really cool novel about a time traveling con man slash magician who gets in all these adventures in the 1930s with a character who's kind of like Di Vernon, but we call him something different. And it's very cool. It's it's available on Amazon. You can buy it as a Kindle, or you can buy the paperback, a large paperback book. It's called Real Magic by Stuart Jaffe and Cameron Francis. That's right.
Are the effects from real magic published anywhere else?
Um, so a lot of them are based on classic self-working tricks that I kind of put my own spin on. And honestly, I don't think so. I think it's the only place in that book. And I mean, it's been a while, so I can't even quite remember everything in the book. But I remember I went through like a lot of self-working tricks and sort of picked out some ones I thought would be good. And like I said, I kind of just put my own tweak on them to make them, maybe a little more original, So, yeah.
So when you and Jeff were coming up with the book, did you tell him, hey, these are the tricks that I can come up with? Or did he show you the plot and you had to make tricks for it?
Right.
How did the process go?
So it was kind of like this. We kind of collaborated on the story together a little bit. He said, "Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think?" And so we would talk through the story, and I would give suggestions and stuff like that. And then he would write, and then he would say, "Okay, I'm at the point in the book." It's kind of like what you just said. Like he goes, "I'm at the point in the book where I need a trick that he shows, blah blah blah, and I need to be kind of like this." So then I would come up with a trick like that. And then he would contact me a little bit later and said, "Okay, now I'm at the point where I need this kind of a trick or whatever." So yeah, it was definitely like as we went along, we sort of found things that would work for the story. And yeah, so it was definitely a collaborative effort. And it was a lot of fun. It's the only thing I've done like that. I mean, never done anything like that before or since. So yeah.
Have you ever had any spectators contact you and ask you to perform stuff from the book? Or like magicians that have read the book and they wanted to see the effects?
Not that I know of. I'm sure I have. I just don't know. I've just never come up. But boy, that'd be cool. I'd have to again. It's been a long time, so I'd have to go through and review what I even put in there because I don't even remember. But I'm sure I have a trick list somewhere that I made up at the time. But that would be, that would be kind of a cool project to like maybe just like do all the tricks from the book at some point, put them on video or something. Yeah.
So let's segue a little bit, but while still talking on the same subject. In the interview they did with Betty, you told him about your bucket list and that you were refining your old material, like I said. So I was wondering, it's been 2 years since then. Are you still doing that right now?
No, because I'll tell you, I while I have come up with some new material, I've been busy with a lot of other projects. I took a little bit. I wouldn't. I wouldn't even say I took a break from magic because I'm always tinkering with magic, but I definitely have stepped back a little bit from it to focus on other things. Um, and so when I do come back to it, I do tend to look back at old tricks and go, okay, what was that again? And can I make that better? Um, because I'm just sort of, that's just where I am. Yeah, it's sort of a thing of like, I just like this idea of refining things that I've already done. Um, that maybe at the time my perspective was, I have more perspective now, and I just like that idea. It's more appealing. That's not to say I still don't come up with new stuff, but it's a little more not as I don't do as much as I used to. So yeah, I mean, even since the Craig Petty interview, I'm sure it was 2020. I'm sure since then I've done some more tinkering with some other stuff. Absolutely.
Do you feel like these breaks that you have from magic help you in your creativity?
Yeah, I think so because when I originally started in Magic, the idea was that I was just doing it. Well, not when but when I got back into it, when I really started getting serious about it, I really just I never thought of doing it as a profession. Really, I just thought it was fun and I enjoyed it, and it's more like a hobby I enjoyed. But then it sort of became this thing where I was doing a lot more and creating lots of tricks, and I was suddenly had tricks on the market, and so I felt all this pressure to like create more, and I was on this creative kick. But then you know but then at the time my acting career was kind of not I wasn't doing a lot, so I had more time. Now it's kind of flipped where I feel like I'm doing more acting work, so I didn't have as much time for the magic, but I kind of like that because it really has sort of helped me sort of recharge my creativity when it comes to magic. And so I've got some new stuff I've been working on. And in fact, one of them might even be a download from Bigblindmedia soon. You never know. So yeah, it could be something coming down the pipe there.
I'm gonna tell Owen this. He probably doesn't know.
Yeah, he probably doesn't. I don't know.
Have you noticed, let's say over time, wait, how long have you been doing magic?
I've been doing magic for a very long time, but like seriously doing it for maybe about 20 years.
Okay, 20.
Yeah.
And how long have you been creating magic?
Maybe about 15.
Okay, 15. Have you noticed your style of creating change over time?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
From what exactly to what?
So I think before, when I started creating magic, I was doing a lot of restaurant work. So I feel like I would create tricks that were kind of shorter, punchier, a little more whimsical. Whereas I feel like now when I create tricks, since I'm not really doing restaurant work anymore, I'm not as concerned about that. I sort of create tricks that are still I can still consider them commercial. Like you could do them for anyone, but maybe you wouldn't do it at a table. Maybe it's a little long for a table, or maybe it requires a bit of a setup, so you can't just chuck it in the middle of your set. Um, so not that that stuff is always completely impractical. I mean, it depends on the performing circumstance, really. But I think I'm a little more interested, and I'm also interested in mm, less stuff. I don't know, less props, less like I like just being able to pull out a deck of cards and doing stuff. Whereas before, maybe I needed some Sharpies and a little prop to go with it or something. And now I just don't care about any of that. I like this. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm certainly no magic snob by any means, but um, there is something about because lately, especially when I perform, a lot of it, especially casually, if I think someone might want to see a trick, I will literally just take a deck of cards with me and nothing else because I just don't want to load up my pockets. And if I don't necessarily know I'm performing, but I found that just having a deck of cards you could do so much with. So
Let's take, for example, one of the first things that I ever seen you perform was from the Omega Mutation. I think this was when I was around 14, and it was it was so different from everything that was happening at that point because I was so used to seeing LNL publishing and just this very serious type of magic. And here was Bigblindmedia with these hazmat suits, and it was in this post-apocalyptic pandemic situation. And the effect that you did in this DVD was you wrote Houdini on a playing card, and Houdini escaped from the playing card.
That's one of my favorite tricks. Yeah.
Now let's take that and compare it to one of your most recent effects. I can't think of anything right now, but if you would compare the two, do you think this change in presentation from what was back in 2013 to now happened due to what the audience wants right now?
You know, the thing about a mega mutation, which was really fun, is that what happened is that Owen found out I was an actor and was like, "Oh, if you're an actor, we can do all this crazy stuff when you come over here." So like, he's like, "I'm gonna put this guy in a hazmat suit, and you're gonna be like," and there was no like, I didn't know what I felt like I had no idea what I was doing because I was like, "Okay, we're gonna do this." So whatever, you know, and I think this is what Owen loves. I think I shouldn't speak for him, but I will anyway. I think what he loves about me is that he'll just tell me to do something and I'll just do it. Like I don't question it. I just go, okay, I'll just do that. And that's sort of me, just like, you know, when I work with directors and they want me to do stuff, I'll try anything, you know. So it was, I think I was a little presentationally, like I didn't know really what I wanted to be as a magician back then. I was just kind of making it up as I went along. And I just think that over time, it just sort of refined it a little bit and decided, well, you know, here's what I want. I still love a good trick with like the Houdini trick. I do that a lot. Like I always, because the nice thing about that one is that talk about simplistic. You just need your deck of cards, one gaff card and one marker. We usually always carry a marker on us. And if you just remember to bring that one card with you, you can do this trick at any point. So it is really, you're right. It has a little story to it. It's the Houdini and the escape and the, you know, and so I still do that. That's definitely still part of how I perform. But I think also I have found that more now I'm more interested in just connecting with the spectator and talking to them just like a normal dude, because I find that for me at least, that is a little more, I feel that I can be a little more myself and not so like the need to perform. You know what I mean? Like there's something about just kind of just relaxing, just being myself that that I've gravitated toward rather than feeling like I got to be Mr. Showbiz, you know, up there. So yeah, I would say that's definitely how it's kind of evolved.
A natural evolution, organic.
Yeah,
I suppose we slowly shape ourselves in the type of magician that we want to be. So, how do you jam with magicians? You're at a convention. What do you do?
Honestly, I just kind of make my way over to the, if we're in a hotel or in a lobby, I kind of just hover until someone does something that's cool, or maybe someone does something that I go, oh, you know what? I've got some work on that. And then I'll show my thing. I'm a little shy. So I tend not to be like everybody gather around me and I'm going to show you something. I tend to sort of insert myself into the jam as sort of subtly as possible, if you might say.
So what's the way that you retain your ideas, the ones that you come up with? Do you record them? Do you write them?
What I used to do is I would literally go into my computer, open a Word document, and just start writing the trick, like almost as if I'm going to publish it or something. Like, here's the effect. And even if I don't necessarily have all the method yet, I would start writing the method. Now, I use my notes app in my phone. And so like like the other day I came up with something and it required a very small stack, but I'm like, I'm going to forget this. So I just immediately I didn't even write the trick. I just wrote the stack in my notes. But a lot of times though, I will do a video just and save it in some kind of magic folder of stuff. But yeah, I've got a ton of documents from way back that it's kind of fun to go through. I've got this whole folder in my old computer that I've transferred to my new computer of just tricks that I forgot about, like just all kinds of ideas and tricks. And most of them are pretty bad, but a couple of them are pretty good. So
most of them are pretty bad. I like that phrase right there. This is actually something that I wanted to ask you. What is the first trick that you came up with that you actually can remember?
Yes, that is such a good question. I remember, and here's the thing, I won't be able to get specific because I don't remember the whole thing because it was bad. I think one of the first things I ever came up with was it was kind of like a universal card trick with a joker that kind of jumped around everywhere and like in the deck in my pocket and all this stuff, but it was real bad. And I think that's one of the first tricks I ever came up with, and it was not good. It was a complicated mess of a trick. Uh, I mean, the methodology was clunky and bad, and it was just horrible. So I remember that. But I'll tell you, the Houdini trick was one of the first tricks I came up with. Like, and one of the first ones that I performed regularly at the restaurant. That Houdini card trick. That one is stuck, and it's changed very little since I first done it. I've tried to improve it, but honestly, like I feel like I really can't. Like it just, yeah, like I that one, and so that's one of the first good ones that I came up with, though. Yeah.
If current you would critique past you,
Yeah.
what were the things that you can see now that you've done bad in the past?
Ooh, so many. I mean, I cringe watching all my old Bigblindmedia stuff. I would say just I would tell myself to slow down. I would tell myself to um, practice certain sleights more. Presentationally, I would tell myself to calm down. I mean, you name it. Like I just feel like there's so many mistakes. Like I can't. I mean, even now, I still look at new stuff and I'm like, oh, you're doing. But yeah, I mean, you name it. And I would. There's a lot of stuff that I would. I feel like could have been more elegant. Like sleights could have been more elegant, or handlings could have been more elegant. That are kind of clunky.
So, you have a sort of, how should I put it, critique meter. You're able to look at something that you do and you can say, I think this is bad, this can be better, I'll change that. But I believe there are people out there that don't have that. They know something's off with their trick, but they can't really pinpoint what's off exactly. So, what would be your advice for people out there that would like to make their tricks better, but they don't know how to start?
what I would say is, I would break it down. I mean, look at simple things like look at how you're handling the cards. Are you stiff when you handle the cards? Do you turn over a double lift like it's a brick? I mean, just little subtlety, like you're handling. Look at your presentation. Like, are you talking fast? Are you talking too slow? Are you not connecting with anyone? Are you just talking and not looking at anyone and connecting with them and maybe asking them questions, or uh, because the secret, the real secret to all this, I think, is connection at the end of the day, which is something that I've always struggled with, and I feel like I've gotten better at. But I feel like as magicians, we're so obsessed with the trick and the thing and the cards that we're always like this rather than being like this and like open to the other person and joking with them and talking to them and doing the trick with them rather than at them. So that's the other thing. Are you doing the trick at them or with them? Are you letting them participate with you, or are you just going, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this? And I think so. Looking at presentation, looking at your handling, looking at the sleights you're using, maybe there's something better. Maybe the sleights just don't look good, or it's too complicated. I would just say break it apart piece by piece. That's the best way to critique yourself. Maybe even make categories on a sheet. How did I do here from 1 to 10? My presentation, a 2. Maybe the sleight of hand was good. Maybe that was an 8. But just kind of figure out. Yeah, you do. You need to learn to self-direct yourself. To direct yourself. Absolutely.
You've definitely had some mentors, either from books or from videos that you've seen or real life, that have helped you develop this ability to shape
Yeah.
your tricks.
Yeah.
Can you tell me who are they?
Yes. I would say my biggest one was Aldo Colombini, who was a friend of mine. I loved Aldo. He used to live really close to me here in Florida, and Aldo was a fantastic. I wouldn't say it's not that I took magic lessons from him, but we worked on projects together, and I learned a lot just from working with him. And he did help me sometimes. I would be frustrated by, oh, I can't do this. He goes, well, what are you trying to do? And I'd say, well, I'm trying to do this. He goes, well, then just do this. He was really good at simplifying everything. He was brilliant at it, actually. And he was my sort of main mentor. I don't know he would call himself that, but that's what I thought of him as, a mentor. So, and honestly, Liam over at Bigblindmedia, Liam, who I've collaborated with several times, I feel like I've learned so much from Liam because he's an encyclopedia of knowledge. And he too is very good at saying, oh, you could cut 3 moves and just do this instead. And you're like, oh, yeah, I could just do that. That's much better. Um, so I've learned a lot from those guys, definitely.
So what you're telling me is simplify yourself,
I would say simplify is a big thing. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not to be understood to downgrading the effect.
Right. Right. That's yes. So when I say simplify, I mean almost more technical, just like
Yeah.
in terms of moves, how to accomplish an effect. Aldo always emphasized effect. He said method. He goes, just make the method. It shouldn't be about the method. It should be about the effect. So if you can come up with an effect and have a simple method, all the better. He's like, don't get caught up in like being clever. Just if you can reduce 3 moves to one double lift, just do that. Don't worry about trying to impress other magicians. He's like, just make it simple. So that always stuck with me.
So what's your definition of a magical effect?
Magic effect. I mean, something. Yeah, the effect is the thing that the people see that is amazes them and astonishes them. I mean, that's the effect is the astonishment, right? That's what the effect is. So you lead up to the effect through the presentation, the story of the trick, if you will, and then the effect is what happens and how the effect affects your audience. So yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
Let's go for a performance. Can you do that right now?
I can totally do a performance. Yeah, yeah. Let me. I'm trying to. Let me tilt the camera a little bit. So I'll do a performance of the trick, and then we'll talk about it. Actually, I'll tilt it. Let's see here. Let's go down. I guess that's good. You can see that I'm trying to. So you can see you can see the table, right? Okay. So this is a trick that you can do. That you can really you can do it on a spectator's hand if you wish. You don't need a table. I'm using a table because I don't have a spectator's hand. But what I would do is I would run through the deck, and just as I'm doing, and I would pull out the 4 aces, just like so. So we got 4 aces here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to place the aces wherever you want me to. Okay. Then I'm going to try to find all 4 of them. Okay. So, Biz, I'm going to start running through the deck like this. Just say stop at any point. And that's where I'll put the first ace.
Stop.
Right there. Okay. So that's ace number 1 goes right there. Ace number 2, just tell me where to put it. Just say
Stop.
right there. I'm going to put ace number 2 right there. So we've got 2 aces so far. Tell me where to go. Sorry, stop.
Stop.
Right there. That's great. And this really is, I mean, it really is up to the spectator. And then tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Right there. Okay, great. So the aces are in there. And we'll put some more cards on top. And then, boom. Fair, right? Look at that.
Fair. Fair.
No breaks, no nothing. There we go. That's fair. So now what we're going to do is, even though we put these aces in wherever you told me to, we're going to try to find them using a little bit of magic. I'm going to give the deck a little turn, give a click, and now one card reverses right in the middle of the deck, and that's a 10,
No.
which is not an
No.
ace. But you know what? That's okay, because I think the 10 might be a bit of what we call an indicator card.
Okay.
And it indicates that the trick went wrong. No, I'm kidding. It indicates that the first ace is actually 10 cards down. So here's what we'll do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's see here. Hopefully, with any luck, we've got ace number 1. Now for ace number... right? So for ace number 2, we turn the deck again, give it another snap, and maybe this time an ace will turn over in the deck. And yes,
Look
it
at
does
that.
right here. That, ladies and gentlemen, is ace number 2. For ace number 3, we're going to spell it. We're going to spell ACEOFCLUBS. And with any luck, that is the ace of clubs, just like that.
Look at that.
And now for the last one, I'm going to spread through it. Now, if you were here, you could pick any one of these cards. I'd have you just touch one. And let's say you touch
Yep.
this one. Doesn't really matter which one you touch. But I'd say, wouldn't it be incredible if this were the ace of spades? And it's...
It would.
It would, but it's not.
No.
That's okay, though. The 2 of diamonds. What we can do is we can take that 2, rub it on those other aces,
Hey.
and get it to turn into the last and final ace. That's all 4 aces right there in the deck. Yes.
That's called
the stand-up Christ
stand-off
aces,
Christ aces.
which is a strange name, but it's based on the Christ ace trick. The Christ aces, which is a classic trick that normally requires you to have a table and 4 packets of cards. I wanted to come up with a version that could be done completely in the hands.
Very nice.
Now, I'm not the first person to do that. In fact, I'd have to check my notes. I can't remember who did it first. But this is different. This is a different version than the other stand-up versions I've seen. So for it, you want me to go into the explanation?
Let's learn it.
Yeah. So for this trick, what you're going to need to do is the only prep you need to do is take a 10 and reverse it on the face of the deck. That's it. So find a 10.
Got it.
Oh, you got it. You're following along.
I am.
Okay, great. Now you're going to remove all 4 aces, and you're going to stack them in a certain order. So get all those aces out of the deck. Let me know when you got them.
Yep, got them.
Okay, you're going to stack them so that there's one red face up. Doesn't matter which one. It could be the diamond or the heart. It doesn't matter.
Well, spades, clubs,
yeah.
diamond.
And then put the ace of spades face up on top of it.
Got
then
it.
the ace of clubs. Then the second red face up ace.
I'm done.
So you have two red aces sandwiching the black aces. The red aces don't matter. The black aces, the clubs, needs to be second from the face of the face up packet. That's important. So now what you're going to do, and this is we're talking about my friend Aldo, who was brilliant. The way I put the aces back in the deck uses something that he used for his fireworks trick, which is a multiple revelations trick. This is his fireworks control, and it's a brilliant control. And you're going to control all these aces in a really subtle way. You hold the deck face down. You have the 10 reversed on the bottom. Remember that, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to start peeling cards into your left hand. And whenever the spectator says stop, you pick up the first red ace, show it, and then you're going to pull it on top. You're going to keep a pinky break below it, okay? And then you're going to place the cards on top for a second, pick up that ace under the deck, and then keep peeling.
Yeah.
Pick up the ace of clubs. Do the same thing. Keep a break, steal it under the deck, and then keep peeling cards in left hand. So what you're doing is you're just placing aces on the bottom of the deck, but the spectators don't know that. Do the same for the third. You keep the break for the third. You pick up, and so now on the bottom of the deck here, you've got these. You've got 3 aces and the 10 of hearts, or the 10 there, reverse 10. And in your left hand, you just have a bunch of random cards. Now for the last one, you put it on top, but do not hold a break.
Okay.
These are the cards in your left hand. Now you're going to peel 8 cards on top of this ace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then drop the deck on top of all. So now, in the middle, we have a reverse 10. Now, if we were to look at the cards face up here, you would see that underneath that 10, you've got 3 aces. Then you have 8 indifferent cards, followed by the last red ace. Okay? That's your setup. Now, what you do is you snap your fingers, you spread the deck, and in the middle is going to be the face-up 10. And you say, well, that's not an ace. Now, what you're going to do is get a break under the 10 and this red ace here under it. All right.
Yeah.
The cards in your right hand, turn them face up like this. Just rotate your wrist and then slide this double on the face of that packet.
Got it.
Okay. Now you rotate your hand palm down and you say, we're going to count 10 cards from the left hand packet on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the next card down will be your ace,
Nice.
your first ace. Yeah, there we go. Now take the right hand packet, just put it on top of the left. Nothing. Okay. Now you're going to rotate the deck again to give another spin. You give a snap, whatever your magic motivation is. Then you spread the cards, and now in the middle will be your face up ace.
Very nice.
Now just out jog it and then put it on the table. Okay.
Yep.
And now you say, for the next one, we're going to spell the next card, the ace of clubs. So you simply spell into your right hand ACEOFCLUBS. And the S is the card. So turn over the card that's spelled S, and that should be your ace of clubs. Now place the right hand cards on top. And now that loads. Now your ace of spades is on top of the deck, so you're almost there. All you do now is spread through. You have a spectator touch any card, and then you say, wouldn't it be amazing if this were the ace of spades? And they say, yeah, and you turn it over, and it's not, right? Now what I do is I get a break under that ace of spades as I'm talking all this smack, and then I put this face-up card right here. So now I have a double.
Yeah.
The ace is the indifferent card followed by the ace under it. And now what you're going to do is a Harry Lorraine illogical double, which is one of my favorite things in the world because it's so deceptive, but it really is illogical. You hold the double, you slide it to the right, then you just turn the left-hand cards on top, and then thumb off that bottom card right like that.
Well,
and that's the ace of spades. So now you do your magic, have the spectator turn it over, or the audience member, however you want to say it. And there you go. That's the all four aces.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's the
Christ aces. Yeah, Henry Christ came up with this trick. So that's yes, I know. So that's the trick. And this is on my it's on a Bigblindmedia release. It's on the Super Mega Card Miracles DVD, which has 10 or maybe 11 tricks. I can't remember. I will say it's one of my favorite that I've done. It's one of my last DVDs I did with Owen. And I mean, it's not just a DVD, it's a download. You can buy it as a download. But it's one of my favorite projects because it's got, I think, some of my best material on it, including this trick, which
it's very good.
I think is a banger, right? Yeah. It's a good one.
It really is. It really
yeah.
Because the thing is, when you send me a performance of this, I looked at it and, I can't really turn off the magician mind, right? I look at it and I'm trying to reverse engineer it. But then I kept looking at it and thought, I don't think I actually know how this is done, even on a second viewing.
Yeah.
So it's very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I really love this trick. Normally in the routine, traditionally it's usually a 7 that's face up in the middle, and you count down to 7. But I wanted to make this routine the 10 because I wanted to set up for that ace of clubs, which you don't normally do at that point. But I really wanted to keep it very ecological and simple. So that's why I picked a 10 instead of a 7. Yeah.
It's a good idea. Really good idea. Thank you for that, for the performance, and for the trick, everybody. Tell us what you think about it in the comment section below. So, your acting has definitely influenced your magic, but have you ever felt that your magic has influenced your acting?
Yes. In the sense that...
How? And how?
In the sense that the idea of tension and release that we use in magic, right? Because you build the tension, then you release it, with the reveal or whatever. And I feel that in a subtle ways, yeah, I think it maybe has influenced my acting a little bit in terms of delivery, in terms of a build up to a punchline or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a particularly like overt thing, but I definitely feel like it has. Absolutely. Yeah.
Has magic ever landed you an acting gig?
Um, I don't know that it's landed me an acting gig, but I've certainly bonded with people over magic, other creators or other actors or directors, and that, I think it maybe helped a little bit. Absolutely. I don't know if it landed me the gig, but it's definitely helped. It's never hurt. So yeah.
Now, the ultimate question that all the teenagers are thinking about it. I'm I'm sending it to you. Have you received it?
Yeah, I just received, I think I just received that question. And the answer is, listen, you can use magic
There you go.
for dating, but don't be don't be like super smarmy about it. Use it wisely. Yeah.
Mentalism working very good here.
It works really, really well. Yeah, we're on the same wavelength.
So while we're still on
Yeah.
the acting thing, just a little bit, what would be an actor's advice for a magician?
An actor's advice to a magician would be to when you perform, when you're doing magic, make it look like you're doing something magical. Make it seem like this is like, and be specific about what it is. Like we were talking about, like whether you snap or whatever you do, something has to activate the magic. Well, what does that come from? Is it this like energy that radiates from your brain and into your hand, or is it like, think about how your magic works and how that affects your body and your mind. So that's what I think. Yeah, yeah.
What's the real work of card magic?
The real work of, that's a really good question. What's the real work? The real work. The real work. There's so many different ways. I mean, just I think just performing it for people, because you can sit there and I can sit here and practice a sleight 8,000 times and get really good at it, and then the minute I go out and show it to somebody, just screw it up completely because my nerves are shot. So for me, the real work is just doing it. Like, it's just going, you know what, I just got to do it. I can't, you have to in front of actual people, otherwise it's just you. uh I won't use that word, but it's
I
you just
I
playing
got
with
it.
cards and
I received.
yeah, we got the mentalism thing going here. Yeah. Yeah, you have to, I think. And you know what? Listen, there's nothing wrong with just practicing stuff for yourself and enjoying it for yourself. That's great. If you are a person who's completely content just playing with card tricks and not showing them, more power to you. Wonderful. But when you talk, for me, the real work, it sounds like, well, you know what? If you're gonna do the real work, that means actually doing it for people. So that's the real work to me. Yeah.
Do you still remember the first time that you went out and performed?
I remember one of the first times, and it was, I was doing some, like, it was a show or something, but I was doing close up, and I hadn't done magic. Yeah, it was one of the, and it wasn't great. I was a bundle of nerves. I was too much. I didn't have my routines. I just had like a big suitcase full of stuff, and I was just doing stuff, and it wasn't. There
Sounds
was no
amazing.
form or rhyme or reason. It was really terrible. So yeah, I remember that. It's bad.
Have you ever been so nervous that you've completely overlooked something? Maybe the trick didn't go bad, but do you still remember like that moment?
Yeah, I remember. So my first phase was with magic was when I was a kid, and back then I didn't do any sleight of hand. I did sort of prop magic, things like kid show type tricks, like stuff with tubes and boxes and stuff. And one time I was doing the stratosphere, which is a great. I don't know if you're familiar. It's a great trick. It involves three balls, and then you put a ball in a box, and you open the box, and the ball vanishes and reappears in the tube. It's really cool. And I put it in the box, and when I went to open it, I opened it the wrong way, so it completely exposed the trick. And I
Oh.
was like, And I was so nervous when I did that. I mean, it was really bad. So that's one of my worst experiences. And I was humiliated, and I
Oh,
was so young, I didn't know how to handle it. So
painful.
I just I probably just ran off and cried. I can't remember what I did, um, but I've had times as an adult where I've screwed up and I feel like I want to run off and cry. So, there's that too.
So, I'm curious a little bit about failing now. Can you share with me either a monumental fail or a fail that you completely solved but the audience couldn't tell?
When I worked at Disney, I would sometimes do magic as my character. That was one of the few times I've ever incorporated magic with an acting thing. And I did the not that version. I did the Mark Mason version where you take pieces of pre-torn paper out of your pockets and you just show them. You show them both sides, very clean looking. And then at the end, you just go like this, and suddenly the paper's just fully restored. It's kind of a beautiful flash restoration. And it's very pretty. It's very practical because you don't have to actually tear the paper. You just carry these pieces with you, and
Oh,
it instantly resets. It's great, which suited my needs for what I was doing. But one time I did it, and at the end, I opened up the paper and I realized I had not put the torn pieces where they were supposed to be, and they all fell out onto the ground. And I say, and the paper is now fully restored, and I went, except for those pieces right
that's
there.
perfect.
But what was funny But what's funny about it is that people were like, "Wow, that was really great!" Like they had no
Of
idea that
course.
that wasn't supposed to happen. So it's very similar to what you said. A little different because I was not being inspirational at all. I was just being a goofball. But it's similar. Like they
Yeah.
just thought it was part of the act, and I was like, "Wow!" Because all my cast members they knew it was wrong and they started laughing. But the audience, once it kind of like you said, like they just were like, "Oh, that was incredible! Yeah, all this paper, went back together."
So, what
So
what was the character that you were playing at Disney? Tell me a little bit about
So I
that.
played a character named Montgomery Dash, who was a 1940s movie star, and he was like this really dumb movie star. And it was for a show. It was called Citizens of Hollywood, and there was a bunch of us that went out in the streets of the Hollywood studios at Disney, and we would just do funny bits and do shows and things like that. But I got to perform sometimes in a restaurant there at Disney, the Brown Derby. I would go, and the great thing about table hopping at Disney is that people who come to Disney want to be entertained. So no one ever turns you down. Like they love that you're there to do magic for them because they pay a lot of money to go to Disney. So they want to be entertained as much as humanly possible. So that was the best in terms of a table hopping gig. It was brilliant because I would just go in there with a deck of cards and some sponge balls and entertain for an hour or half hour, really, because that was my set was only a half hour. But boy, never. I mean, everyone was happy. Like everyone just loved it, and I was like, I wish all restaurants were like that. But unfortunately, in the real world, they're not.
Yeah, in the real world, people go to restaurants to eat,
Yes, yes.
not to be entertained.
So
Yeah, sadly. What was magic the reason why you landed that gig?
no, it didn't really. I was just at the auditioning, and the guy said, "What else do you do?" I said, "I also do magic." He goes, "Oh, cool." So they were like, "Let's incorporate that in your character." Like it wasn't. I got the job not because of the magic, but it just turned out to be something I could do. But I worked there with a guy named Terry Ward, who's been there for much longer than I have, and his character Jack Diamond, he would do magic on the street all the time. So if Terry was working, I tended not to do magic because that was his thing. But if he wasn't there that day, then I would do tricks.
So let's go a little bit now as we're reaching the end of this interview into a more critique mode, okay? So I would like you to tell me what do you think is missing from today's magic?
Uh, I think um, sometimes I think it really depends on the magician. I think
Social media from anything.
I don't mind social media magic, but I feel like what do you say?
No, don't go on. Go on. I know you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. I like it. But I think some people, I think, um, you can tell that a lot of the stuff they're doing or whatever they're doing, you can only do on social media, and I feel like it lacks sort of. It's sort of like this thing where it's like, wow, that looks cool, but it doesn't have there's no real personality to it. It's just kind of like this like something cool. It's sort of empty. There's some of it can feel really empty to me. And again, it lacks that personal connection, right? Um, like, I mean, I do it when I do demos. I will do direct to camera a lot because you don't always have a spectator, and you're just trying to get someone an idea of a trick. Most of the time when I do that, though, I'm just doing it as a demo, so the like here's a trick I'm going to sell. Here's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Whereas, I'm not creating content just to create content. Not that magic always has to have a story or whatever, but I feel like personality and connection are
Yeah,
really
true.
important. And I feel like sometimes that can be lacking in some of the social media stuff, or even some of the live performance
Yeah.
I've seen. I feel like people, it's like everyone wants to try to be David Blaine, but they don't get about David Blaine is that David Blaine is actually really funny. Like, he's a lot funnier than people think he is. But he's
Yeah,
dry.
that's
That's what makes him funny. And he
David
actually
Blaine.
he connects really well with the audience. He really does. But I think a lot of people just say, like, oh, he's just cool, and that's what I need to be cool. And it's like, well, that's only like a little bit of it, like the cool part. You got to have the other stuff too in order to be effective. So yeah.
That pretty much summed up everything that I wanted to ask. Tell me, how did the Big Blind Media collaboration start?
Okay, yeah. So that's an interesting thing. What happened was, at the time, this was about 2007. I had sent ideas I had to Dave Forrest. Dave used to be a part of Big Blind Media way back at the beginning, and Dave is a brilliant magician. And I sent some ideas to him, and he said, "Hey, I just started this new magic company with this guy Owen Packard. It's called Big Blind Media, and would you like to come to the UK and film DVDs?" And I said, sure. I'd never been to the UK. I was like, yeah, I want to come to the UK and film magic. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, hey, I'm not going to pass up a cool opportunity like that. So that's how it started. I met Owen through Dave, and then Dave and Owen split. And then I just kept working with Owen. I worked with Dave a little bit too, but I kept
Oh,
working with Owen more. And to
very
this
nice.
day, I mean, we still collaborate. So started 15 years
Oh,
ago is when it really started. Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah.
That's when I picked up magic,
There
basically.
you go. So, yeah. So I was there kind of from the beginning, really, of Big Blind Media almost. Yeah.
Cameron Francis,
Yeah.
you can find him at
Yeah.
CameronFrancisMagic.com, at CameronFrancis5 on Instagram.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
we go. Thank you very much for the interview. And to end this, like I do it usually, I'll pass it over to you, and you can end it in any way you want. So, what would be like the last words?
Boy, it's no pressure, huh? Uh, okay. Um, uh, yes. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Kids.
There we go, guys. Practice safe magic. Cameron has said it, and we shall preach it.